guys, and welcome to today's video. I'm so excited about today's video. Last night, I saw Spider-Man No Way Home, and it was everything that I wanted and more. And I have so many feelings. I have 9 pages of notes. I have to talk about this film. Based on all the trailers, so after Far From Home, you know, Peter's identity has been revealed by Mysterio to the world. Everyone knows he's Peter Parker, and he's having to deal with that, and it's like consuming him, not just his life, but like his aunt's life, MJ, Ned's, everyone's life. He wants to undo that, and he gets the idea to go to Doctor Strange, wants Doctor Strange to undo it, to make everyone forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. But obviously Peter messes up the spell. Like, he's like, well, I want MJ to remember, well, I want Ned to remember, well, I want my aunt to remember, and Doctor Strange loses control and unleashes the spell unleashes villains from the multiverse, other Spider-Man films. And now Peter has to fight these villains and possibly Doctor Strange. That's what you get from the trailer. My general thoughts as of right now, it is my favorite Spider-Man film, one of the best MCU films ever. I don't know if it's my favorite because like Endgame and Infinity War are like my top Marvel films, but it may be number 3. You would think that it would feel kind of like filled and convoluted with all of these like different characters and trying to balance all of them. I think Jon Watts did a really great job of balancing all of the characters, whether it be Peter, Ned, MJ, Aunt May, Happy, and then all of the villains that are in this film. I think they did a really nice job of balancing all of these characters together and just making them work. At the end of the day, it is Tom Holland's movie. I think Tom Holland's performance in this film is some of his best performance as Peter Parker, as Spider-Man. He brings so much grit and drama to this film, and this film is a lot darker, more dramatic and intense than I thought it was necessarily going to be from the trailers. In my personal opinion, this is his best acting as Peter Parker Spider-Man. Yeah, that's all I can say without spoiling anything. Now I'm going to go into spoilers. So if you have not seen this film, do not stick around. If you have not seen Spider-Man No Way Home, then please leave, because I do not want to spoil it for you. We're good? You left? Great. So the film opens up from where it ended in Far From Home. You know, Peter's identity has been revealed by Mysterio to the world. The Daily Bugle is picking on Spider-Man. Spider-Man's kind of freaking out. Him and MJ are getting swarmed by people. He's kind of freaking out. MJ's kind of freaking out. Ned's freaking out. Peter's identity's been revealed to the world. Like, how is this going to affect him and his friend's relationship? In this movie, there's a lot of consequences, and I think they really nailed it on that front. But in this one, you can really feel the guilt and the struggle that Peter is dealing with, because everyone knows he's Spider-Man. Yeah, it's screwing up his life, but it's not only his life, it's his aunt's life, it's MJ's life, it's Ned's life. Ned and MJ and Peter are trying to fill out applications for colleges, and every college is denying MJ and Ned because they are friends and are involved with Spider-Man, which is not fair. Peter feels guilty about that because he's like, this is my mess. My identity was revealed. They should not have to pay the consequences for my mistakes. Peter's just dealing with that throughout the entire film. Not only is he dealing with that on top of trying to help all of these villains, the reason he does the spell and go to Doctor Strange in the first place is because he doesn't want MJ and Ned's life and everyone's life that he cares about to be screwed up. Because his identity was revealed to the world, everyone is having to pay the consequences, and he doesn't like that. And that's why he goes to Doctor Strange to do that spell. But at the same time, he still wants MJ and Aunt May and Happy to know who he is, to know that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. But Doctor Strange is like, that's not how it works. They can't really have technicalities. He's distracting Doctor Strange. That's too many technicalities. The spell fucks up, goes haywire. Doctor Strange has to trap it when I can assume it's like a little Mirrorverse ball. Otherwise, that spell would go crazy. Spell goes crazy anyway. It unleashes villains. And then, all of his fans that were being doubted, like, Daredevil's not gonna show up. Yes, he fucking does! That leaked picture of Matt Murdock at Peter's dining room table, that is real! Peter, his Aunt May, and Happy at Peter's dining room table, and you can tell there's someone else there. It shows Matt fucking Murdock, Daredevil's there, as Peter's kind of lawyer. It's so cool to see. He's only in there for like a couple of minutes, but I don't care. Those couple minutes are amazing. I think the best part, and this is the only other time I've experienced this in a theater is Infinity War and Endgame. When Daredevil comes on screen, audience is cheering and clapping, and I'm along with them. To see the audience like react and cheer and clap for Daredevil was so amazing. As he's trying to talk to this lady, he senses something with his Peter tingle. Bridge starts to like kind of like crumble. Cars are like freaking out. One of Doc Ock's tentacle leg things come out, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we fucking go. In the trailer, it was one thing to see, but to see it on the big screen was just like so cool. Comes out of the ground and he's like, hello, Peter. Throwing cars at Peter. Peter gets into his Iron Spider suit, and they just have a really cool action scene on this fucking bridge. Doc Ock is throwing cars at Peter. Peter's trying to dodge them, being like, who the hell are you? Whereas Doc Ock's like, I know exactly who you are, but not really. Peter gets out his like Iron Spider legs, and it's just like leg arms versus leg arms, and it was awesome. I never thought I'd see Doc Ock back in a Spider-Man film battling Tom Holland. Who would have thought? Honestly, a lot of the stuff in this movie is fan service. Do we care? No, because it's fan service done right, and it's fan service that a lot of people will appreciate. Just as you think things have calmed down, no. Mr. Green Flying Man shows up. Green fucking Goblin in his Green Goblin costume on the glider. Hear the laugh. You see the pumpkin bomb, and then you see Green Goblin for a couple seconds. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around it, and I've already seen it. Doctor Strange transports him back to the Sanctum. Doc Ock is in a cell, and also in a cell is Dr. Connors, the lizard from The Amazing Spider-Man. But The Amazing Spider-Man film is the first Spider-Man film I ever saw. I really liked the lizard, so to see the lizard back is just like kind of really, it's really cool for me at least. This is where Doctor Strange tells Peter, this is what happened. Your spell brought them back because you're trying to live two different lives. And that's really another thing that this film is about, is Peter trying to kind of live two lives. He wants his loved ones to know he's Spider-Man, but at the same time, he just wants that privacy. But really, you can't have the best of both worlds, contrary to what Hannah Montana says. It's really what Strange is trying to tell him. It's like, people know who you are, and that's the way it is. I mean, I'm sorry that Mysterio told everyone who you are, your identity. You trying to have your friends know who you are and still keep the role of Spider-Man a secret, that doesn't always work because you're putting your friends in danger. Ultimately, that probably what leads Peter to make his final decision at the end of this film. Doctor Strange is like, this is your mess. You need to fix this. Or as he says, Scooby-Doo this shit. This is technically Peter's fault. He wanted everyone to forget he was Spider-Man while also having some people know, which is not how things work because we're dealing with the multiverse. Doctor Strange has a point. Like, this is kind of Peter's mess. At the end of the day, Peter is just a kid. He is a high school student about to be a college student. So at the end of the day, his mistakes he's making make him feel more human. They're trying to find out who this Peter, and everyone classify him as the Green Elf. Spider-Man's suit is destroyed. So like we saw in Homecoming, the inside or the reverse side of the Spider-Man suit, that is that black suit we see where it's like black with like gold lining and like wires. It looks so cool. Granted, Spider-Man goes through quite a few different outfit costume changes in here, and I will say they're all fantastic, especially the last one we see to the woods to find, I guess, the Goblin. But it turns out that Goblin guy is actually Electro! Jamie Foxx does a really great job in this film. I really liked him in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but he does a really good job in this film as well. And every villain, I think minus Sandman and the Lizard, does a very good job in this film, and all the villains serve a purpose. We learn in the Sanctum that all of these villains have been pulled from before they're gonna die. Doc Ock is with his Sunray machine and he's fighting Spider-Man, and then he doesn't remember anything because he was pulled from that time. Same with Green Goblin. That's why Doc Ock is so confused when he sees Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. Like, wait a minute, you died. But then Green Goblin's like, no, I didn't. But then Doc Ock tells him, no, you did. You were impaled by your own glider. So all of the villains were pulled before the moment they were going to die. The villains don't know they're going to die, so that's why Electro and some of the other villains don't want to go back to their time, to their world, their universe, because they're just going to die when they go back. So kind of explains why Electro looks so different, why he's not all blue and stuff. Like, it's a different universe. So the electricity and the power in this universe is fueling him, making him stronger, changing his appearance, so to speak, to where he's not a blue glowing machine dude that was kind of weird and I wasn't the biggest fan of. That's why Electro doesn't want to leave. There's so much power, electricity in this world. You know what? I don't want to leave. I'm all over the place. When he shows up at the feast where Aunt May works, he's just casually drinking a coffee, chatting with Aunt May. And so I thought it was really cool that he has on like a purple hoodie and then over that a green overcoat to like symbolize his like comic book accurate Green Goblin costume. I like that. I like that little Easter egg. It's where Aunt May is like telling him, you know, all of these villains have their own demons, their own issues they're going through. Like at the end of the day, Peter learns and realizes through Aunt May, all of these villains deserve a second chance. Aunt May tells him that all these villains deserve a second chance. They deserve to be healed, to be fixed. They just wanted to have a chance, just wanted to make a difference and be seen by the world, be treated as an equal, and just be treated with more respect and given time to shine. And if you take them back to where they originally came from, they're gonna die. We get that iconic line where Aunt May says, with great power comes great responsibility. Let's go! Peter takes the Green Goblin back to the Sanctum. When they get back to the Sanctum, Peter's like, hey, Dr. Strange, I kind of want to help these people out. Dr. Strange is like, do you know about this thing called like the multiverse? We tampered with that once and that kind of fucked shit up. We're not gonna do that again. The villains talking with the other villains. Doc Ock talking to Norman Osborn about how he died. Electro like talking to the Lizard about what the Lizard did, like how Dr. Connors wanted to turn everyone into a lizard. The villain on villain banter is so fucking cool in this film, and I really liked to see, because like Doc Ock and Green Goblin never interacted. To see them interact together, have a conversation, actually talk about like what happened to them, pretty dope. We know all these villains already. It's not like Mysterio where they're setting up a new villain. We all know these villains previously, so like we know what they're about. To see them interact with each other, to see them have actual purpose and have more of a purpose, and they have a continued storyline, was really cool. There were a lot of fan service in this film, but it was fan service done right, and I think fan service that had a point. Peter, because he doesn't really think things through necessarily, he takes the box with the spell from Doctor Strange. You're going up against a wizard. That's not gonna go so well for you. And as we saw in the trailers, no it doesn't. Doctor Strange has Peter between portals and like grabs a whip, astral projects him. And I think one of the coolest like action shots or like visuals in this film, Peter and Doctor Strange end up going to the mirror dimension. And in the mirror dimension, obviously anything can happen. You can fuck shit up because it doesn't matter. It's so many visuals from like Doctor Strange to like the multiple buildings coming out of each other, like multiple like sections of the city. It's a mind fuck, but it's really cool to see. Like, it's multiple trains coming at Peter. Like, Peter's kind of getting his ass handed to him, because it's like, you're in Doctor Strange's element now. You're in his world. Peter sees geometric shapes, and it's really just a bunch of shapes in geometry. Peter uses geometry and is setting up webs in different spots. And finally, when all those pieces come together, just has Doctor Strange trapped in a bunch of spiderweb fluid. It sounds dumb in retrospect, but it's so cool to see on screen. Peter's like, you know what's cooler than magic, Doctor Strange? Math. And Peter takes the box and he leaves Doctor Strange in the mirror dimension. Doctor Strange is left in that mirror dimension for 12 fucking hours. What? And then what does Peter do next? Takes a bunch of villains from different universes to Happy's apartment. I don't think Happy's gonna be too happy about that. Sure, take a bunch of villains that you don't really know very well and could still be evil to Happy's apartment. Sure, Sure, Peter is talking about the little electronic thing in the back of Doc Ock's head. The tentacles are really controlling Doc Ock. Doc Ock is not really in control of them, and that's why Peter thinks he's kind of like grumpy and ergy. Figures out a way and tinkers with a new chip to put in Doc Ock's head. I appreciate that Peter wants to help these villains out because, as I said before, some of these villains aren't necessarily bad guys. They've just wanted respect and they wanted to be given a chance, especially like Lizard and Electro. They wanted to be given a chance. I appreciate that Peter wants to help them, even when he doesn't even know these guys. But he feels a certain responsibility because Spider-Man in other universes not gonna save them, so Peter kind of feels responsible. Puts the chip in Doc Ock, and Doc Ock just is like a changed man. He's in control now of the tentacles and his arms, sees that Peter did help him. Like, oh, Peter. And then, fucking Green Goblin and Electro have to ruin it. Electro is like, I don't want my electricity gone. This world's got so much power. I'm gonna stay evil. The Green Goblin really takes over. Oh my god, and this is where shit gets real. This point on is when the movie said, hey, we're turning things up a notch. Yeah, I love all the movie, but from here on out, I love the rest of the movie. Freaking out just thinking about it, replaying it in my brain. Electro uses his power and he pushes Doc Ock out of the building. What ensues is the Green Goblin like beating the shit out of Peter, and he beats the shit out of Peter, and it's terrifying to see. There's a lot of moments in this film where Peter gets beat up very severely, and you can see that he's taken a hit and he's taken some damage. Not just mental, physical, but also emotional damage. This whole fight, this whole scene, especially in this building and what happens, does a lot of emotional, mental, and physical damage to Peter. Not only is he getting beat to a pulp by the Green Goblin, where that's physically like breaking ribs, but also mentally he's feeling like destroyed inside, and like he's feeling like he's been broken because he's wanted to help all these people out. He's realizing that I can't help them all out, that like this is not, I can't do this anymore. Meanwhile, she has the serum to like stop the Green Goblin, stay out of the way while also try to help Peter, and at one point he's being choked by the Goblin and Aunt May just stabs stuff at Green Goblin, but it doesn't work. You see the glider come in, and a part of me was like, oh my god, they're gonna do what happened to the Green Goblin to Aunt May, and they do. I think it was a combination of that and the pumpkin bomb. The glider either stabbed her or hit her, throws a pumpkin bomb, and Peter doesn't catch it in time, and it explodes. He becomes emotionally broken. He's trying to help Aunt May get out of there, and she crumbles to the ground. She's bleeding way too much. I know Tom Holland is a great, phenomenal actor, but during this scene where he is pleading with May to open your eyes, to talk to me, say something, you can see the distraught, the brokenness on his face, the sadness, the desperation to have her talk to him, to speak to him. At this point, he's emotionally, mentally, and physically broken. Tom Holland sells that performance. When I tell you I could hear the cries and the sniffles from other audience members, oh my god. But our Aunt May was the family member dying that really sets Peter off, or really puts him on another journey. This movie already felt very intense and dark and gritty, but that scene really sets it home, where this is no joke. There's gonna be ramifications, there's consequences to the spell that Peter fucked up. Like, his aunt paid the price. Really, that's where he kind of hits his rock bottom. See him in the rain in that shot from the trailer, like crying, he's bleeding, he's broken, and like the rain is pouring down him. That shot was beautiful cinematography right there. Feel the emotion and the grit and the desperation and the sadness and the brokenness coming off of Tom Holland's face. Top it all off, you see the big like projectile board of J. Jonah Jameson saying how much a menace Spider-Man is and Peter Parker is. I think that's really where it kind of hits Spider-Man. As much as I try to save people and protect people, Doctor Strange was right. I'm trying too hard to live two different lives, costing me Aunt May. It's hurting MJ and Ned. He really is starting to feel the ramifications of what he wants to do and his decisions that he's made. It's another reason that I think it ultimately leads to him deciding to do what he does with the spell at the end of this film. This movie had the most, I think, consequences, things that are never going to be the same in the MCU. This is what really sets him off to really just be on, to go at it alone, to not contact Ned or MJ, and he doesn't know what to do because he feels like everything's his fault. You know, when MJ and Ned come back on the roof with some guests to comfort him, and he just breaks down in their arms. Oh my god, that got me. That got me so good. And MJ and Ned are just waiting at Ned's house to find out some information from Peter. When Peter took the box from Doctor Strange, he also took Doctor Strange's sling ring. And so now Ned has the sling ring. Because what happens next? Ned does something with his hands, and they see a little portal open up, and Ned's like, oh, maybe I can do magic. He's wanting to see Peter, so he's swinging around his fingers being like, I want to see Peter and I want to see Peter. It opens to an alleyway with Peter. I'm thinking, oh, it's Tom Holland's Peter Parker. So Spider-Man is waving at them. He looks kind of confused, and I'm like, why would you be confused? As that Spider-Man gets closer to the portal, someone in our theater shouts out, that's Andrew! And I'm like, oh my god! And it is! It is! As the Spider-Man gets closer to the portal, we can see the silhouette details of the suit. And it's Andrew fucking Garfield's Spider-Man suit! When I tell you, the entire theater bursted out in cheers and claps. It was so amazing to see and to experience. He takes off his mask, and I'm like, it's Andrew. Andrew's here. Andrew is fucking here. I can't. We were right. All the people that were doubting that Tobey and Andrew were going to be in this film and telling all of us that we're theorizing and looking at all the leaks, oh, you're just overreaching. No, we were fucking right. Andrew and Tobey are in this film. Sorry for my incessant screaming, but I'm just like, oh my god. Ned wants to try it again. And the gasp and the cheers and the claps that came from the audience when Tobey fucking Maguire walked out of that portal. If this is happening, this is real. If you would have told me during Far From Home or even Homecoming that Andrew, Tobey, and Tom were all going to be Spider-Man together in a Spider-Man film, I would have told you you're bullshitting me. And here I can say you're not bullshitting me because it happened. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man Peter Parkers are in Ned's house. Interactions between all the Spider-Mans from here on out are kind of fan servicey, but we don't care. We're all here for that fan service. I don't care what any critics say. Andrew and Tobey are looking at each other, and Tobey shoots out webs from his arm at Andrew. Andrew like dodges it, and they both do like a flip together, and then they stare at each other like, hey, what's good, other Spider-Man? And I think the next scenes that unfold are some of the best scenes in the MCU, at least for me. All four of them go to Tom. Tom Holland's Peter Parker is talking to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker. This conversation they have, oh my god, it was wonderful. I can't keep saying I loved it enough. I did. They all understand each other. Tom is like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I messed up. I fucked up. Like, I lost my Aunt May because of this. This is my fault. I don't know what I'm going through. I don't want to talk to anyone right now. MJ's like, no, you need to hear them out. The only people that really know what Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, is going through is obviously Andrew and Tobey, because they've experienced it. They know what it's like to lose people. Andrew has lost both his parents. He lost his Uncle Ben. He lost Gwen, who was very important to him. He couldn't save her, and he blames himself. And I remember that moment. I remember watching him try to save Gwen. So, like, distraught myself and broken. To see that be brought up again and to see the pain that's still there with him, it brought me right back to that moment in the theaters. And I was like, oh, you're gonna make me cry. But I already was crying. And then you have Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, who knows what it's like to lose his Uncle Ben and want revenge. He and Andrew know what Tom is going through and wanting the revenge, the rage that is fueling him. Understand that because they too have been through it. I love they have that very vulnerable conversation about how they know what he's going through, the pain, the rage. They don't want Tom, Spider-Man, to go through what they did. They don't want him to be filled with that rage and to go too far. Like, they're mentors to him because they've already experienced all of that pain already. Tom is now just experiencing it. He's still very fresh from it. So I like that Andrew and Tobey become almost mentors to him, his new Uncle Ben's, if you will. Now it's planning time. They gotta figure out a game plan. All three Peters are bonding. They're in a lab. They're all doing like geeky scientist nerd stuff. This is amazing. Ned's asking like Andrew and Tobey's, did you have a best friend? This moment made me chuckle so much. Tobey's like, yeah, I had a best friend. Oh, he died after he tried to kill me. Later on, Ned is like, I promise I won't kill you, to Tom's Spider-Man. I wonder what Ned's gonna do in the future. They first get there. Ned's like, oh, here's your web fluid to Peter. Toby's like, what's that for? And Spider-Man and Tom's like, oh, it's to shoot webs. Toby's like, I don't have that. Andrew and him are like, what do you mean? And Toby just flings out webs from his wrist, and Tom's like, whoa, how'd you do that? And then Andrew's like, oh my god, that's so cool. That's so fascinating. That is so fan servicey of them freaking out about his actual webs from his hand, but it was awesome. It was fun. I love it. There's so many scenes in this film that I love. I love that Andrew, dealing with Gwen's death, kind of gets a little bit of a redemption arc. He's really the only Spider-Man that lost, like, the love of his life. I liked that he got a little bit of a redemption arc. I know some people probably don't like what happened at the end but I really do like what he ended up doing. I like that for him. Anytime Toby and Andrew and Tom are talking, or even just like Toby and Andrew together just talking, like, it was some of the best scenes ever. I loved it so much. It was like fantastic, wonderful, fabulous. Now comes the end battle scene at the Statue of Liberty. We get all three Spider-Man working together. They are posing together, swinging around the Statue of Liberty, fighting villains together. Like, all three Spider-Man swinging around like, I feel like it's a dream and I'm gonna wake up from this dream, but this is reality. This is the real life. It's not just a fantasy. This is real. And when the villains show up, they're kind of getting their asses handed to them because they're not used to working together. Now they have to kind of work together, and it's so cool to see them work together. And there's that shot in the second trailer. I see Tom, Electro, Sandman, and the Lizard, and it's like this big wide shot. In the Brazilian trailer, Lizard gets punched. And we're like, they edited something out. They most certainly did, because in that shot, Andrew is kicking the Lizard in the face. In that shot is Toby, is Tom, and is Andrew. And it's so cool to see. I've watched the two trailers so many times, so it's so cool to see shots where it's just Tom in the trailers, and then that same shot in the film is Andrew and Toby in the background. Like, it's not always Andrew fighting his villains or Toby fighting his villains, it's their flip-flopping. But I do like that Electro and Andrew kind of have a rematch, end up giving the serum to Lizard. They changed Lizard back into Dr. Connors, which I really appreciate. Toby has a nice conversation with Doc Ock, because Doc Ock shows up and tries to save Toby and other Spider-Man. He defeats Electro himself, so shout out to Doc Ock, you were pretty cool. Doc Ock is like, oh my god, Peter, it's so good to see you, and Toby's like, hey Doc Ock, what's up? And Doc Ock's like, you've grown. I'm just like, oh my god. It was full on tears, because I'm like, oh my god. Not just getting to see Tobey Maguire again as Spider-Man that like makes me emotional, but it's getting to see Toby talk to Doc Ock again, them have an actual conversation, them like glad to see each other again. And then Andrew talks to Electro, and Andrew's like, you were never useless, Max. You were somebody. Everything is happy, but obviously it can't be happy because the Goblin shows up in a really cool new like costume where we get to see Willem Dafoe's actual face. Doctor Strange shows up and he's like, I was trapped in there for 12 hours. Where is he? Tom is trying to explain to him like, well, I fixed some people and and then he sees Andrew and Toby stand right next to Spider-Man and he's like, oh my, what? Everyone's trying to get the box, and of course Green Goblin threw a bomb in the box. Structure blows up. MJ and Ned fall off the building. Tom is trying to grab MJ, but Goblin shows up and gets him away from MJ so he can't save her. But that's okay, because Andrew gets his redemption to save another Spider-Man's girlfriend. Andrew saves MJ. You can see the realization on his face, like, I couldn't save Gwen, but I was able to save another Spider-Man's girlfriend from death so that this Peter Parker would not have to go through the pain and the distraught I went through. Andrew! Peter is fighting the Goblin, and this is where Peter's rage is just consuming him. His need for revenge and his rage is just consuming, and he's just beating the shit out of Goblin. At one point, he grabs the glider, and you are like, Peter, Peter, you've come so far, don't do this. He's gonna stab Green Goblin, and you have Tobey Maguire who steps in and stops Peter from doing that, and there's no dialogue exchange between them, but you can just see in Toby's eyes to Tom, he's like, this is not the way. This is not you. Don't let the anger and the revenge consume you. Love that there was no like words exchanged between them. There was just that look. And Tom knew like, I can't do this. This is not me. Of course, shit has to. Green Goblin stabs Tobey fucking Maguire. No, you can't kill Toby. Toby's okay. Toby doesn't die. Tom goes to talk to Doctor Strange because in the sky is crumbling and the world's kind of separating. The multiverse is here. Doctor Strange is like, I can't stop it. This is where Tom kind of like realizes the only way to fix this is to do and go with the original spell. But on top of that, he decides, how about the whole world forgets Peter Parker? Are you serious? On one hand, I understand why he wants to go this route because he's brought so much destruction and pain to MJ and Ned's life, and obviously to his aunt's life, kind of like screwed with their lives. But that means that every single person that knew who Peter Parker was is going to not know who he is, which means all of the Avengers are not gonna know who he is. And then the three Spider-Man hug each other. I love it! I love this movie so much! Peter's like, I need to do this. And so he says his goodbyes to Ned and MJ. He's telling Ned that like, you're my best friend, I love you so much. He tells MJ, you're amazing. I'm so glad I got to know you. MJ says she loves Peter, and Peter's about to tell her I love you too, but she's like, no, tell me when you come find me again. And he promises that he will come find them again and he will explain everything that happened to them. Just like bawling, and I'm like, oh no, don't do this. And even Doctor Strange is like kind of upset. He's like, it was great to know who you are, Peter Parker, to know that you were Spider-Man, but just to know you. They do the spell, all the other Spider-Man and Spider-Man villains are sent back to their universes. Peter doesn't really get a happy ending, which at the end of the day, I think that's what kind of had to happen. So after everyone's forgotten who Peter Parker is, Peter goes to find bakery where MJ works, and Ned's there and MJ are there, and obviously they don't know who Peter Parker is. He's rehearsing this speech. I'm Peter Parker. I'm Spider-Man. We were like best friends. You were my girlfriend. All these things happened to us. Just looking at her, and he sees the Band-Aid on MJ's forehead, and I think that's really what hits him of, I don't want to involve them again. They have a chance of having normalcy right now, going to college. I don't want to bring them into this chaotic world of mine. Peter, don't! Peter, no! He just doesn't say anything to MJ or Ned, and maybe he will eventually say something to them. I think for right now, he wants to leave it at they don't know who he is because he thinks they're better off without him. There were fucking consequences of Peter's wish. He did all of this. He did the entire wish. He did all of this to try to have Ned and MJ have a normal life, a normal college experience, and now it's ending with, I guess the only way to have them have a normal life and a normal college experience is to have me out of the picture, which, to think about it, is really sad. Then the movie ends with Spider-Man swinging through the city. However, this was just the added cherry on top of the already fantastic, delicious sundae. Tom is in another new Spider-Man suit, but this Spider-Man suit is the classic Spider-Man suit. The bright red Spider-Man spider logo on the back of the costume. The bright blue part of the costume. I love that! It's the film. That's Spider-Man No Way Home. And then, there's more! Rumor going around. They were gonna be showing us a little tease of Doctor Strange too. So glad I saw that teaser because, oh my god! We're gonna see Doctor Strange in his more comic accurate costume. The consequences and the ramifications of the spell, and in Spider-Man No Way Home is the ramifications of what's gonna happen. It's gonna continue into Doctor Strange, the multiverse. See Doctor Strange? I can't. Doctor Strange go to see Scarlet Witch? To see Wanda? And then there is a scene. We see Scarlet Witch hovering above like in a crisscross applesauce pose around like a ring of like lit candles, and I'm like, ooh, something dark's going down, some like dark chaos magic I'm all here for. We see Wanda in her Scarlet Witch costume, but it's been a little like upgraded and changed, and she has the long sleeves, and I'm like, she looks so beautiful. She looks so wonderful. The cheers that came out of the audience from just like seeing Wanda was just like, oh my god, I love Wanda so much. But then we see evil Doctor Strange. I just could not believe it, because my favorite what if episode is episode 4, the Doctor Strange episode. What if Doctor Strange was evil? To see evil Doctor Strange, same like room, same scene with like Sorcerer Supreme Doc. Oh my god. I cannot wait. Like, that was Spider-Man No Way Home. I never thought they could top Endgame and Infinity War. And not necessarily top it, but like have it get to that level. And from phase 4 so far, I feel like it's getting to that level. The multiverse is here, and it's insanity. Those are all of my thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home. There was a lot. Let me know what you guys thought about Spider-Man No Way Home. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys with another video very soon. Bye, guys!